everyone, I am Brandon Oliveris from Co-Creation Coaching, and I am here with another reader's question. So before I get started, if you would like to ask your own question to be answered in one of these videos, you can go to cocreationcoaching.org/ask and submit your question there, and I always appreciate receiving your questions. Also, if you would like to read the transcript for this video or just leave a comment, you can go to cocreationcoaching.org/RQ4. So today we have a question about action, and I always find this to be an interesting topic. I know it's a very difficult one for a lot of people, so I think this is a great question to be discussing today. So our reader asks, I have a question about the logical conscious mind and choosing an action. Suppose that you have a choice between an action that seems logically likely to help you achieve your goal, but doesn't feel that great, and an action that feels great, but doesn't seem to have any logical connection to your goal, not to your conscious mind anyway. Of course, ideally, you find an option that feels great and seems likely to make your goal come true, but sometimes we are stuck with a different kind of choice. Which is the better option if you have to choose between logic and good feeling? So then she goes on to describe, situations that you see out there on the internet a lot with, you'll see stories about people who, didn't want to take an action that seemed logical, and instead they took one that seemed totally random but fun to them, and then they just so happened to run in just the perfect resources they needed to in order to accomplish their goal, that you really wouldn't expect otherwise. So she's saying, is that reasonable? Is that likely? Is that common? What do you do in that sort of situation? So the first thing I want to say to this, first of all, like I said, it's a great question because a lot of people do wonder about action and what kind of action they should be taking. But throughout this whole question, it exudes the feeling of egoic fear. And, what am I going to do about my goal? How am I going to make it happen? How am I going to get there? There even was where, the question says to make the goal happen, right? That's a very egoic way of looking at things, right? So in this question, it's just really apparent to me that, there's more of a focus on the ego and on trying to make a goal happen by any means possible, rather than on the actual law of attraction and attracting what you want. Okay, so before anything else, I highly recommend two posts I actually just made last week. The first post is on the difference between attraction and force, which I made last Tuesday. And the other one is about why your desires should resonate with your core essence. That was a podcast I posted Friday. And both of these posts, I think, will help a lot with explaining these concepts because, to me, especially with the attraction versus force post, there's just a lot of force that is kind of peeking through with this question. And I think that it's so much more useful to allow yourself to attract the goal. Okay? So a lot of times what we'll do is we'll try to find the most logical action that will help us to get to the goal. And no matter how painful it is, we'll just force our way through it. And it doesn't really matter how it feels to us. We just say, okay, this is what I have to do to get my goal. I'm going to do it. And that's it. Like we're little kids taking, a dose of medicine that we don't like and we take it down real quickly or something. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't work most of the time. And even when it does work, it's not really the result you necessarily want to get. Okay? Again, that's force. I'm going to keep referring back to that. That's force. That's when you're trying egoically to push your way through to your goal. Right? You're trying to create your own path, which is a good thing in certain senses. But creating your own path against the flow, totally opposite of the flow. Okay, you're pushing against the universe, and you will never win that fight. That's not to say that you'll never take logical actions. I mean, if you're looking for a job, chances are you're going to send in your resume. Chances are you're going to go for interviews. That's just kind of how it goes, right? That's not all the time. Sometimes you'll have those crazy stories where you just happen to meet a friend at lunch or something, and they just happen to say, oh, hey, I know this place that's looking for a job, that's looking for someone to work, that's trying to fill this position. And so you go and interview, and it's instant. That can happen, right? Chances are, most of the time, you're going to send in your resume, you're going to go to interviews and such. So, I don't want to say that that's never going to happen. You are definitely going to take logical actions depending on what the goal is. Okay, so if you want a relationship, for example, you're going to go out and meet people. That's just going to be a requirement. Again, sometimes you might just have a friend who says, yeah, I know this perfect person for you, and you go on a blind date. But even if so, you have to go on that date. You can't just stay at home and, expect the relationship to just develop on its own. You have to take that action. So there are going to be logical steps getting to that goal. Okay, most of the time. Almost all of the time. The difference is in how we get to those steps and in how open we are to alternative steps. Okay, so again, the feeling I get from this question is like, do I just have to force my way through those actions no matter how unpleasant they are, or can I just do what's fun? It's not really quite that kind of dichotomy. I don't even want to say both and, because I never believe you should push your way through something unpleasant. I never believe that, okay? If you are doing that, something's wrong, and you have to find your way to a life that is not so unpleasant. Okay, that is a manifestation of your current reality, of your current inner state, of what you're holding right now. So you don't want to do that. But, it's going to be both logical actions and inspired actions. And they can and should be one and the same a lot of times. No, you won't always know what exactly that action is going to do for you, where it's going to take you. Sometimes it might seem kind of out of the blue. But, like I said, there will be logical actions as well. So the whole thing is with this is that this question really won't even arise if you're doing the law of attraction right. I mean, if you are going within and visualizing and creating that subconscious pathway to your goal and focusing on it every day and always doing that and really having faith in the universe, in your subconscious mind to take you there, this shouldn't even come up. Why would it come up? It shouldn't even be a consideration. You'll know what actions to take because you're going to be so in alignment with the vibration of that goal. If you have to guess, you're not there. It's probably too soon. Okay? If you have to guess, it's just probably too soon for you. But once you do align with that vibration, once you are expressing that core essence we discussed on Friday's podcast, the actions will become obvious. Some of them will be logical, some of them won't be. Some of them will be out of the blue, some of them will, you'll know where they came from and be relatively sure what to expect from them. But like I said, you should never be pushing your way through an unpleasant circumstance. That is force. That is using force, not attraction. When you use attraction, when you live a life of attraction, I really want you to go back and read that post from last Tuesday about attraction. When you do that, the perfect circumstances come to you. You have to act from the inside. And that the perfect circumstances, the perfect actions come to you in the flow, the natural flow of your goal. And if you do that, you'll always know what to do. And if you don't know what to do, you do nothing for now. But you don't push your way through because that means you're misaligned within. So your prime focus is always going to be on how am I feeling right now? Where am I internally? Am I in a good place or am I not? Am I aligned with my goal or am I not? And what is the most natural expression of that alignment at this moment? If it's sending in a resume, it's sending in a resume, and you have joy about that. Okay, if it's going on a date or something, that's what it is. If it's, in the extended question, she talks about going fishing and something kind of coincidental happening there. If it's going fishing, you go fishing. If it's, hanging out with some friends, that's what you do. It's just, you don't stress about it, because stress means force. Stress means you're pushing. So never do that. So once you're aligned, it will all be obvious, and you won't even really have to think about this question at all. So the question sort of takes care of itself. It's just this question, like I said, kind of arises from a bit of insecurity, and you just don't want that. Take care of your own vibration first. Take care of your own alignment first, and the question won't exist anymore, is my perspective on it. So I hope this helps. This is always a very important topic, as I've said, when to take action and when not to, and what kind of action to take. So I really hope it helps. Again, if you would like to ask your own question to be answered on one of these videos, you can go to cocreationcoaching.org/ask, and I will be happy to answer your question in the future. And again, if you'd like to leave a comment or read the transcript, you can go to cocreationcoaching.org/RQ4. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, and that would be great. So thank you, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful day. And as always, anything is possible.